The Saud family, the royal family of Saudi Arabia, with a collective net worth of $1.4 trillion, is the richest royal family in the world. To put things in perspective, the Sauds are about 16 times richer when compared to the British royal family. The custodian of all that wealth is King Salman Abdulaziz bin Saud, the current king of Saudi Arabia, and no one lives a more luxurious life than him. Here's a look at the trillionaire life of King Salman, the Saud family. Before getting into how he spends his fortune, let's talk a little bit about the source of the Saud family's wealth. This family has been in power for over 3 centuries, and throughout that time, the heads of the family have been accumulating wealth and passing it on to the future generation of royals. This wealth comes from the government, its investments in the country's development, construction of institutions, some of which are now worth several billions of dollars, among others. However, the wealth of the Saud family increased exponentially when Saudi Arabia became one of the world's largest crude oil manufacturers. Today, Saudi Arabia itself is one of the richest countries in the world, and being the ruler of such a prosperous country involves access to all the luxury that money can buy. When King Salman Abdulaziz came into power in 2015, he gained control of the family's wealth, the throne of Saudi Arabia, and the state-owned oil company Saudi Aramco. Aramco is the world's second-largest crude oil reserve, and the Saud family controls over 90% of it. So it checks out that the family is worth over $1 trillion. The net worth of the Saud family is distributed among some 2,000 family members, and even though King Salman's personal net worth is about $20 billion, he is still the patriarch of the family and therefore in control of all the family's wealth. Having access to $1.4 trillion worth of fortune is unfathomable. And trust me when I say nothing can prepare you for how luxuriously this king spends his wealth. The palaces of Saudi Arabia. The Saud family built several extravagant palaces for whoever sat on the throne. Some of them are in Riyadh, while other lavish properties are scattered across the country. And of course, King Salman owns all of them. The 3 most popular ones are the Al Yamama Palace, Al Auja Palace, and Erga Palace, all of which are located in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. These palaces are the epitome of luxury and opulence, and they make even Buckingham Palace seem modest. The Al Yamama Palace. The Al Yamama Palace is the current and official residence of King Salman, and at first glance you would agree that it is very fitting to accommodate a king. It is also the seat of the royal court and the headquarters for passing royal decrees. The palace's exterior design reflects modern and traditional Arabic elegance. However, its geometric motifs, pointed arched windows, and monochrome painting give it a relatively minimalist appearance. On the other hand, the palace interior gives off a completely different vibe. Literally, every corner of Al Yamama is gilded with gold. Stunning, expensive gilded chandeliers hang from the ceilings, and the floors are covered with rich carpets. Even the doors are gold-themed and elaborately decorated, and each one opens up to a well-decorated, luxurious space, furnished with expensive elements, ornate antiques, and many more. The palace also contains Italian marble floors, an intricately carved ceiling and wall panels, complementing the overall vibe. Apart from the king, Al Yamama also hosts senior dignitaries and government officials of Saudi Arabia during the weekly government meetings headed by the king's son, Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman Al Saud. Foreign dignitaries and other VIPs are also accommodated within the walls of this great palace. Al Yamama Palace has numerous permanent staff members on standby, all of whom are at the king's beck and call. Everything King Salman needs and more is available here in Al Yamama. However, he sometimes shuffles between this palace and the Al Auja Palace. After all, they are not very far apart. The Al Auja Palace. Compared to Al Yamama, Al Auja has an older, more traditional and minimalistic design. Being one of the oldest palaces in the world, it could pass as a museum, where Saudi Arabia's history is documented in black and white photos, ancient arts, architecture, and more. Al Auja does not contain as much gold as Al Yamama. However, it contains so much national treasure, its worth is estimated at tens of millions of dollars. Al Auja is more of a resort and private space for the king when things get crazy at the official residence. The Erga Palace. The Erga Palace is yet another reminder of King Salman's lavish taste. Containing the right amount of opulence and traditional design, The Erga Palace is a perfect balance between the Al Yamama and Al Auja palaces. It contains its fair share of gold doors and walls, Italian marble floors, silk carpets, luxurious chandeliers, and many other expensive elements. Erga Palace also receives some of the king's VIP guests, and several lavish banquets have been held here 1 or 2 times, at least that we know of. When President Barack Obama visited the palace in 2015, the guests were treated to a sumptuous dinner featuring lobster, lamb, jeweled rice, and other delicacies. The dining area also had gold-plated tissue dispensers and gold chairs. What better description of luxurious living is there than this? Like many world leaders, King Salman has access to luxurious air travel. However, when it comes to quality and quantity, the King of Saudi Arabia outdoes everyone. He has access to a fleet of private planes, each of them stashed with luxurious amenities. His official private plane alone is worth $500 million at least, but this too is just one of the 6 planes with his name on it. The official plane is a Grand 747-400, which has been dubbed the Flying Palace. The aircraft is spacious enough to accommodate the king, his entourage, special guests if he has any, and other personal spaces like a conference room, his personal suite, a relaxation area, and a kitchen where his gourmet meals are prepared. Yes, all of these fit on the plane with space to spare. The king's personal area is almost entirely gilded with gold, which obviously gives him the feeling of a home away from home. Even his seat is draped in gold. At the center of the room, there are small oval tables, which are surrounded by comfortable cushions for guests. The meeting area, however, has a more official, minimalist, and yet luxurious vibe. The plane also features an exquisite dining area, with top-grade cutlery and furniture, and the master bedroom is simply stunning. When King Salman is not traveling on official business, he travels on one of his other private jets. These include 2 Boeing 747-200s, a 777-300, a 787-8, and an Airbus A340-200, which serves the king exclusively. All these jets individually cost at least $80 million to purchase. But when you add the cost of customizing each of these together with maintenance costs, their collective price is definitely off the charts. Luxurious diplomatic visits. King Salman has a habit of turning everything he touches into gold. In 2015, during a diplomatic visit to the U.S. capital, Washington, D.C., the king fully booked all 200-plus rooms of the popular Four Seasons Hotel for himself and his Arab entourage. But he did stop there. He also ordered a revamp of the hotel until everything in it became gold. The hotel installed gold furniture, gold mirrors, gold end tables, gold lamps, and even gold hat racks. All the gold used by the hotel was flown into the U.S. directly from Saudi Arabia. The king also ordered that the floors of the entire hotel be covered with red carpets. There was even a carpet leading from the hotel's garage up into the hotel, so the king's feet would not touch the bare ground. The entire hotel was booked for a whole weekend, and the entire time, the king and his entourage schooled everyone on what it means to be really rich. The entire trip must have cost up to $100 million. But hey, when your family is worth $1.4 trillion, spending $100 million on a trip barely leaves a dent in your pocket. Interestingly, Washington is not the only place the king has put on a show of extravagance. Also in 2015, King Salman took a diplomatic tour where he visited different countries, including Russia, Tokyo, Morocco, Indonesia, and a couple of others. As you would expect, each trip was something to talk about because of the sheer amount of wealth that was on display. When he went to Russia, for example, the king's entourage consisted of 1,500 people, all of whom were treated to the best luxury the country had to offer and sponsored by the king himself. Ritz-Carlton and the Four Seasons hotels were maximally booked for the king's entourage, and vehicles were booked to drive them all to their places of interest within the city. The king also arrived with his own furniture, carpets, and a gold escalator, which he used to get off his massive private jet. Even the Russian president doesn't use a gold escalator to alight his official aircraft. Vacations. If you thought any of his diplomatic visits were extravagant, you might want to lean back for this one. The King of Saudi Arabia is known for leaving lasting impressions wherever he goes, but his presence is several times harder to neglect when on vacation. King Salman once went on a 3-week vacation to France, and his presence disrupted the daily lives of the locals and other people who were there on vacation. To ensure the king's privacy when he arrived, every building within a 300 m radius of his vacation villa, including a public beach, was sealed off to the public. This made people very upset, except the local businesses, who were paid in advance by the Saudi royal family for any inconvenience. Now that was a flawless display of power and wealth. Also, in preparation for King Salman's arrival, the villa was renovated. New windows were installed, fresh flowers were planted, and the entire villa was gilded and decorated with lavish furniture. There was even a throne on the balcony so the king could enjoy unspoiled views of the city while he relaxed. When he arrived in France, the king came with a 10-vehicle motorcade, and over 400 saloon cars with tinted windows were hired to transport his relatives and entourage around to tourist destinations and beaches. Even when he is on vacation, King Salman really does know how to get all eyes on him without even trying. I can't stress this enough, but normal people don't live like this.